So we finished the part of the network effect today. So yesterday we were wondering how to attract new users prior to reach the critical mass that could help to spinning the virtuous cycle of the growth and create this huge network effect that can boost your venture. So Soma yesterday said marketing, which is the main could be the main driver, but how marketing? In the sense, which kind of user do you want at the beginning? Which kind of people want to attract? Do you want the average guy, the average person? Do you want someone more famous? Do you want someone more geeky? Do you want who you want?
I guess it depends on the strategy you want to apply, because I needed to make my effort so I can look for the geek strategy. So I give the apps to a small group of bloggers and journalists that will spread the word using the information. Or I could give them to people that have a big social net, so many friends, so that the word will spread that way.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That could be one option. Usually, when you launch a new product, when you launch a new technology, and you try to find new people, new customers, users, at the beginning you always have a first group of the so-called early adopter that you are the one interesting to. So the one that will be always arrive first to a new technology because they like it, because they want to try new things, because they want to be the first one to use something. And this is the first core customer base that you will have, usually. Then you need to be good to deliver something valuable to them, because then they can help you to arrive to the critical mass, to go beyond the early adopter phase and arrive to the general, more extended public, and also to the average person that will know your technology. But still, it's not that easy to do it. But you want the early adopter to be happy when they will use your technology at the beginning. But once that your product, your app, or whatever do you want to do, your service is ready and is on the market, you need to understand how to both to attract new users. So if you are in a market where you have competitors, how new users can switch from the competitor or from using some other technology to yours, from one side, and from the other side, how to lock your user when they will start to use your service or your technology. So from one side, they need to be able to, at the beginning, to enter your system. So having some, not having trouble to move from one technology to another. And from the other side, you want to lock your users into your system. If you think about the Apple ecosystem, if you think about the the printer, the usual example is the printer, or also the Gillette case for the razors, where you need to buy the refill for your razors only from Gillette, and most of the time they cost more than to buy a new razor. Or for the printer, when you buy a printer and then the ink costs more than the printer itself, most of the time is because you are you buy something, so it's easy to buy, easy to install, easy to use, but then you are locked into the system and you need to stay with it, or you need to change the printer again, and you don't want to buy a new printer every time. So from an evolution strategy, that could be offer the consumers an easy migration path, so reducing the switching cost from one technology to another. You have it could be an option for you to develop something new, but it's something that is slightly different from another product, and then maybe slightly better, but that could help to switch. Kind of, you have an Android phone, you can have another Android phone from another company with different kind of features, but still better, but still is Android, so you doesn't have to buy all the app. Instead of, for example, if you buy an iPhone from an Android, you need to buy again all the app that you bought from in the Google Play Store, for example. At the same time, you want the people to stay in it, so you need to offer them something more, as I said. Then there could be a revolution strategy, so offer a completely new product, completely new, in a completely new market, or really different from the other ones. And this is risky because obviously you can fail really easily, but if you succeed, you are the first one doing this, entering this new market, so you are the one that can be the winner in the future, having the first move advantage.
There's a question.
Yes?
Is evolution like improvement technology, and revolution like disruptive?
Yes. Yes. More or less, we can say yes. I don't like disruptive as a term, so I use revolution.
Radical.
Yeah, more radical, yes. Obviously, you also have a problem of control of your technology, and you can try to want to set a standard. You can compete with other products using the same standard, or you can try to build your own standard and become the de facto standard, let's say. So if you think about Microsoft Office or Word, in the past they became the de facto standard of the Office file, and the Word file became when you say I need to write a Word document, even if you use OpenOffice or other kind of platform, still you refer to this kind of document. So it's also in the language is or Google for the search engine. So you set a standard which is recognized, even if it's not an open standard, and even if, as Microsoft did, make it possible to use also open standard in Office, but still they maintain the control of their standards. Obviously, standards open the possibility to have more competitors, and that's why, for example, regulators like standards, because open the market for more competition, and it's seen as something that could help consumers to be more have more choice. So, for example, the European Union made a standard the USB port for the mobile phone recharger. It's so more or less every smartphone should use or need to use a USB for recharge as a recharger, and this open possibility for competitors to enter this market. At the opposite, as I said, there are the closest standard where a company want to take the control of all the market with its standard. It's what tried to do, for example, Sony with the Betamax in the past, as I explained said yesterday, where they had this standard for the Betamax, which was closed and proprietary of Sony. They failed. In that case, it was not a successful strategy with the eyes of the future. Then, as I said, with this kind of standards, with this kind of procedures, you want to, from one side, having lower switching costs for the new users to enter and to pass through your technology or to your product, and from the other side, you want to find something that can lock your users to your technology. There could be different kind of lock-in which have different switching costs, more or less high. So you can have the classics, like a contract. So when you sign for a contract for your mobile phone, for example, then you know that your switching cost is to pay for the contract or wait until the end. You know that when you do an investment and you buy something that has some cost, you doesn't want to change in a few years, and maybe if you buy a machine which is really expensive and you really need it, you need to wait to replace it because you need to how you say, ammortizzare.
Reduce the cost over time?
Yes, you need to reduce the cost over time. So then you could have some lock-in based on the training for your technology. So the classic example is keyboard. So switching from a QWERTY keyboard to another layout setup is cost you time to learn. So you don't do that normally. The cost to change the format of your data, so to convert your data that could be locked in a system, and then you need to find a way to export it and have the possibility to change it with another system. Search cost, so the fact that you need to find a good replacement for for what you are using now, and then the last one that maybe the lock-in, which is actually not a real lock, but it's more kind of be friends, let's say. So it's the loyalty program. So you have some advantage to go in the same supermarket with the card, and you have the discount, and this is a way also to let the people continue to use your service. So I have some kind of loyalty programs. So this is more or less more practical stuff of these aspects, and are all strategy that when you think about future future action, that future decision that you can make to when you will design something that could be an app, that could be a product, that could be a service that you want to, I don't know, open a company or whatever, are all strategy that you need to think about, because are the way you can attract, the way that you can maintain your customers, the way that you can create growth for your company, for example. So more or less, this is the end of this part. I don't know if you have any question.
Do you have example of companies or making lock-in? Example of lock-in nowadays?
Cisco, Microsoft, Oracle.
How does Cisco represent lock-in effect? No, it's relevant. I definitely think that is correct, because of course there's a host of things, but there's one.
For example, loyalty programs. If you would like to have some discount of device purchase, you have to have some certification. There's some people that have the certification. If you lost the certification, because a certification expires every 3 years, you lost you will lose the discount.
Okay, so you
Okay,
have,
definitely.
you
So
have-
even
you have-
beyond.
you have both training, a specific training, so you have
Loyalty
this.
programs.
But even stronger than that, if you think about, well, say you want to hire a system administrator and you want to have the cheapest system administrator possible, right? Because of course sometimes you don't want you just want somebody that runs the system, right? So either you go for a graduate student, but that tends to cost a lot if you're not in Italy, then usually in Italy graduate students are kind of cheap. But otherwise you can just get somebody who was qualified from high school and has a Cisco certification, because everybody acknowledges Cisco. That's a lock-in, in the same way as you described. But more than on the devices, it's a lock-in on the kind of recognition which the company has. So it becomes a de facto standard. And if anybody here did the advanced networking course in the bachelor's degree, you are taught how to handle a Cisco router. That is because everybody tends to adopt that kind of philosophy. Other lock-ins,
Apple.
Apple.
With whatever, I mean, their devices are always easy to interface between each other. If, for example, in order to synchronize your songs with your iPhone, you need to use iTunes, that is a program of Apple.
You also reduce the search costs because you have only one method. You
Yeah,
don't have
okay.
to choose. And also, specialized browser, because there's a specific the Apple Store where you can buy everything about for your Mac, for your iPhone, and you have there also the brand specific training, because you became a Mac user, so you don't know how to use the Mac, but you don't know how to use other PC.
Yeah.
And what happens with respect to switching costs if I want to switch from an iOS device to an Android device, or from an Android device to an iOS device?
Nowadays, I think simpler than before. Depends on how much money have you spent on the programs for the apps. If you don't,
But if you think Do you know what the first Apple application to be ported to Android was?
No.
First Apple coded application to be ported to Android was? What was it?
Switch to iOS.
Switch to iOS. So if you want to reduce the lock-in cost, the switching cost, and you want to get people away from a lock-in, you just offer them a cheap way to go to your system. So this is a way in which they kind of bribe Android users by saying, well, you want to switch to iOS, here's a very convenient press one button and we do the thing.
That's true, but also with the latest Android system, you have an easy way to transfer things from your iPhone to the new
Now,
Android.
yes, that's true. Now, yes, but up until like 3 years ago,
Yeah.
it wasn't this. I mean, it was way more involved to switch from iOS to Android than it was the opposite way. Because the opposite way, you would just download an app, buy Apple, press one button, and it will do the thing. So in this sense, it's but it's interesting because that was some sort of a bait. You know, you have an easy time to switch. Well, one less problem for you to think about.
Then also a lot of companies developing premium app or paid app on both iOS and Android. They started to use this kind of to avoid this problem of portability and the fact that customers will need to buy two apps, which they could be not that happy. So instead of that, they have this kind of premium program. So you pay for a yearly license or a yearly premium yearly premium program. So they have a constant income, the company, and you can use in both on iOS, Android, or whatever. So for example, there are several applications doing that. I think Adobe for Photoshop, this kind of application do that, and also other.
For companies, a company which is quite famous for lock-in is SAP. I don't know if you know them. They are from Germany. And so when a company decides to purchase an enterprise resource planning from SAP, usually they tend to stay there because they are quite expensive at the purchase. So then
They're quite
it's a
expensive,
long-term-
quite expensive in terms of time, money, training,
Consultants that we need to
consultants. So yeah.
And another example, who of you would think that Facebook represents a lock-in, and why yes and why not? Or a mechanism similar to the lock-in?
From my point of view, Facebook represents a lock-in because other social networks doesn't have a pool of users so big. For that reason, many people prefer to stay with Facebook instead of switching because all of their friends are on Facebook and not on the other.
So would you consider it more a technical lock-in or
Kind
other?
of a technical lock-in because many other sites for any purposes they suggest you to sign in or make a new account, or you can also log in with Facebook, creating a new account bound with your Facebook account. But the fact of having the vast majority of users of social networks, it's because of the network effect that we discussed yesterday.
Yeah.
The rich gets richer, and that's why no one uses Google Plus or MySpace or whatever. Because if you have very few reachable people through it, it's not accomplishing its purpose. But the fact is that many sites allow you to sign in with your Facebook account.
Anyone thinking that Facebook represents something different from the lock-in, technically speaking? Other opinions?
Just a comment, but for instance, if I'm not a user, if I'm a client, I'm a customer of Facebook, and I'm interested in Facebook just to encourage my marketing campaign or strategy. So from that perspective, I can change the social network because Facebook has a specific target of clients. If I want to go to more, for instance, more young people, I can switch to another social network, Instagram, for instance.
But the
which
fact
is still Facebook.
yes, but it wasn't Facebook from 2012. It became the part of Facebook.
Instagram company. But now it's not actually a real competition. Because Instagram is Facebook.
That's true. So you say that if you are a customer of Facebook, you mean an advertiser that wants to put some ad on Facebook to promote its company or someone else's company, because you are an agency working in advertisement. So you can choose some other place, and so the competitor, in that case, the competitor of Facebook are, I don't know, magazines, billboards, television. If you want to put advertisement which is not on Facebook, but is on some other place, the other network of advertisement online which they exist. They works, I don't know. The data show a lot of moving from the old kind of advertisement system to online advertisement, and mostly on Facebook advertisement. So people are spending money, a lot of money, and more money on advertisement on Facebook because they consider it as a value for the company. So they think that they can reach the customers better, and then this can reinforce the lock-in effect of Facebook, for example.
But I think this one is the Microsoft product. Because they have their own, let's say, atmosphere, let's say, environment, coding, anything. We all have tried to move to a Unix-based system, and there are like go to Unix programs, go to Ubuntu programs, a lot actually helpers, but still the vast majority of the people are on Microsoft, even though it's expensive, it's not actually as open as an open source system. It doesn't give you a lot of, let's say, authority to change, but still people are locked in Microsoft products.
I think this may, in my opinion, maybe it was absolutely true some years ago, but I think right now many people are just using Microsoft products because they are used to, not because of actual reason. Because, for example, products like LibreOffice, OpenOffice, which are more or less at the basic user, the same of the Office part of Microsoft. But they are just used to the interface of the Microsoft stuff, and they just want to use it.
But still it's a
For a basic user.
It's still a lock-in effect. The one that you are used to something, so you want to change. It's a switching cost that you need to do to learn a new interface.
Yeah, but it's based on laziness.
You should like a new interface. So it's not.
But it's just based on laziness, nothing a real barrier.
Which is one of the main drivers.
The other thing is that you just say to yourself that LibreOffice and these things are more or less the same as Microsoft Office. So Microsoft Office is the role model, and the others try to be like that.
Yeah, they create a standard, so it's perceived as something that you need to use. You use that because you are used to use that, and everything is different from the standard. So maybe you can like it, use other programs for a lot of reasons. But still, you need to interface. Also, think about the compatibility with standard and type of file. So when you work with another person using Office and you use LibreOffice or OpenOffice, okay, it's more or less compatible, but not always works. So you can find.
As far as I know, I'm not really an expert in this, but LibreOffice is able to open the
Yeah.
file format of Microsoft. I don't know if the vice versa works, but
No, it works also the vice versa, but then not always it works all the setting and all the. So sometimes you need to reward the file.
Also, keep in mind this is the point about open and closed standards, as in one sense, the LibreOffice has to guess how the standard done by Microsoft works, because they don't have a white paper to base themselves on. They say, well, it kind of works like this, and they make some sort of an emulator of what that means. While the converse, Microsoft can read the white paper of how the standard of OpenOffice is defined and can just implement it. So this is different in this sense.
Even just the font family that you have in Microsoft, since you create something, you have also some paid fonts that LibreOffice can't give them out for free. So sometimes you can have a .ux file, but you won't have the same font. You can have other unless you buy them.
That's true. So these are all the effects.
Sorry, question. What about if we cannot move or switch technology because the others keep on using the main one, so I think not change.
The others.
We're gonna find differences in the product.
The others means other people around you. It's still a key. It's more in that sense, it's more a network effect more than a low key. So it's the whole effect of the network effect, where you are in an environment and you need to adapt to the environment. So everybody uses that software, that application, or that technology, and because of that, at the moment I don't have alternatives, so I need to use it. Then you can decide, or someone else can decide, they say, but what if I can build an alternative to this situation because I don't like this and that? Then you can try to reshuffle the situation. But it's not that easy, obviously, because you have then all other login. But it's still, in that sense, this is more a clear pressure that you have. I need to use it like in Office.
I mean, you shouldn't see this list as an exhaustive list. It's, I see it more.
These are the main ones.
Because if you just go by the definition, a lock-in is when I force you to pay a cost for your choice of switching the way you approach something. So in your case, I mean, I think the best example is like WhatsApp and Telegram and whatever. So if I'm using Telegram, but everybody else is using WhatsApp, I am in a lock-in the sense that I would need to pay a cost to convert you to Telegram in order for me to get converted to Telegram. And this cost increases with the amount of people I want to connect to. Because if I want to connect just with you, I buy you a coffee and I say, whatever, I'll just buy you this coffee and I'll install the thing. But if I have to buy 200 coffees, that gets expensive. If I have to buy a billion coffees, even more expensive. So in this sense, it's still a lock-in effect, but don't lock yourself in that list. Okay?
And most of the time, it's not a matter of how good is a technology, or how it's best designed, or how it's most usable. It's a matter of being able to create these effects more than the technology itself.
But in some cases, you should be logged in by law. For example, you have to use the software with
Law usually sets standards, so saying you should use a software that do this, and that. And this standard that could be more than one competitor. Then it could be also that a lot of companies don't see a profitable market, and so there is only one product doing this kind of thing. But still, yes, it's possible, but law don't force you to use a specific software.
I have experience that there's an organization in my country that the web page only, by web page I don't mean the homepage, I mean it want to log into the purchase, and only works with Explorer coding. So they say on their homepage that please use Explorer and not like Chrome, Firefox, which, for example, at that time I had all what I had to.
This is a kind of lucky that they are, probably, because they started to develop this kind of application using a framework or whatever that they couldn't switch for some reason. That could be they don't have the experience, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the money to pay someone else, they don't have to, so and you as a user have the problem to this interface, exactly. So, but this happens a lot of time also in companies that when they decide to build some internal network intranet, there are companies where the intranet works only on Explorer, for example, so because they don't choose to use some kind of technology. But this is the decision that companies take, evaluating the possibility at a certain moment and say, okay, and then we will discuss it also later in this decision making. So you are at a certain moment you need to make a decision and say, okay, what we do? These are possibilities, and you just can guess what is the best, and then maybe it's not the best after some time. So, and you are lucky. So be careful on what you decide. No, but still it's relevant. Understand how it's not relative to the technology itself most of the time. So there could be something embedded in the design of the technology that can enable some of this type of other type of login. But then most of the time, and also for a network effect, is not how good is the technology, just a matter of enroll all the actors that you need, so the users, the other technology, other competitors, partners, markets, and whatever. So all the actors that are around you should be enrolled and should be aligned to your strategy. That is not something that you can do also most of the time by choice. It's something that could happen by fate, or just because you are lucky sometimes, or just because you are the right moment to take that decision. So it's also a matter of time, like for the VHS versus Betamax case, which is really a good example of how things could have been done differently and lead to a totally different environment and reality. So in that case, Betamax and Sony could have decided to open their standard also the VHS consortium, and they had the time to do it, the possibility to do it, and they could have won the banking stance. Because they thought at the time that they were strong enough to have their own standards and to set their own standards, proprietary standards, and become the what is the Microsoft Office for video recording at the time, for example, in that case. Instead of going with a more shared standard with other companies like the VHS. This is the story.
Just as a side to this, can you think of another similar story which happened with video standards more recently, and in which the outcome was exactly the opposite?
Yeah, MKV.
Sorry?
The MKV format.
The MKV?
Yeah.
I don't know that. What is it?
Why is it one story that you didn't video format?
I was speaking still about video. It's still something about video, but it's a more recent example of this. No, I was thinking of Blu-ray and HD DVD, which were two like totally opposite formats. Blu-ray was actually supported this time by Sony, and it was their proprietary thing, which only they did. And the HDD.
Sony likes doing it.
Sorry?
Sony
Sony likes doing these things, but they're kind of good at it. And the HD DVD was another bunch of corporations proposing it. But in the end, I think nobody had an HD DVD player, and everybody went with the Blu-ray.
But they won because of PS3.
They won because of the PS3, but they won because of the PS3 because they were able to play it. Okay, so people have a PS3, therefore people can buy the Blu-ray discs more easily. So this is, they use a secondary market, which is the market of console gaming, to create an option for people. To have, well, if I publish an HD DVD and a Blu-ray DVD, guess which one most people have already? And they have a less cost towards switching, towards keeping their Blu-ray rather than switching for an HD DVD, which they will likely never use. So in this sense, they exploit exactly this kind of effect.
Now there is also the streaming.
Yeah, now nobody cares about DVDs anymore, but that's another story.
Another competition. Okay. So can do 5 minutes, so 55, and then we start with the decision-making part of it.
Of course, you face decisions and the rationality models which we tie to them, which in some way means how did we get to make that decision? Okay? So, first of all, why do we do this in the 9D course? Why do we care about models of rationality and decisions in the 9D course?
There are sometimes that you make decisions completely against their background, you base your decision on.
So if I want to be innovative, I have to examine the environment and then possibly take a decision which is completely counterintuitive. So in some way I have to have a framework that if somebody asks me, why did you do that? You can actually explain why you did this. Yes, that's definitely one very good reason to do it. Other opinions? Same, okay. So what happens if you take a decision which turns out to be catastrophically wrong? You just took it because it felt like it was right at the moment. You didn't put much thought into it. But it turned out to be catastrophically wrong, and now your investor, your research manager, if you're a researcher or whatever, is threatening to capture all your funds. What shall you do about it? Well, you should have a plan B, not always you do. So it's better, of course it is better, but sometimes it is not feasible. Yeah, so I mean, it's random. You can even decide at random. You should have a plan B. Sometimes you don't. However, if you take a decision which turns out to be bad, or even which turns out to be good, and then somebody asks, why did you do that? Or if they ask you to justify. You can be straightforward, but you can also try to find a reason why you did it. Even if at that time you didn't actually do it.
So I can call random and new way of thinking.
You can, yeah, that's fair enough. But let me go to this. Can you give me some examples of decisions you make and how you make them?
For example, when we eat you can decide whether you want to eat a sandwich or with meat or meat.
You can take a decision with respect to what you have for lunch. How do you decide that? How do you decide that?
You can base on what you speak, on the queue and the day of the week.
So sometimes you just say, well, this is a longer queue, I don't want to be bothered for to have a pizza, I'll just go for a sandwich. Sometimes you just say, well, I had pizza yesterday, so I'm not having it today as well. Sometimes it's just because it's it's Friday, you're on a diet, and Friday you have to eat fish, so you go for fish. Other types of decisions?
Can you give an example? We need to choose the next
have some options, and you have some parameters which you can use to balance your decision, and in the end make an informed decision. So you say, well, this is a higher ranking, is in a nicer place, it's not the topic which I'm interested in, but this benefits counterbalance the negative, and in the end I decide for this. Okay, fair enough. Can I ask, so is there anybody here from Trento City? That was born and raised in Trento, the city of Trento. Okay, can I just ask you, really frankly, why you decided to come to this university?
Because I thought and I...
Sorry?
Because I thought and I think that it's one of the best university about computer science.
Okay, because you think it's a great university, you think it's valuable.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
How
looked
much
for the
did it-
statistics.
Sorry?
I looked for the statistics and I found out that this was near and very good, so it was best.
So it's good and it's close, so it's convenient.
Yes,
in
but
this sense.
the closeness was not the prior criterion.
Okay, but so the leading decision was done because of the quality,
Yes.
but then the convenience also impacted on it. Okay?
It was just collateral. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just another good point, not so
It was a
relevant.
side benefit. So, and then I have another question. Who just happened to decide, well, I mean, I'm not really sure what I want to do. I'm kind of good with computers, so I guess I'll go for computer science, at least at the bachelor's. Anybody? I did. So, yes, that happens, right? Sometimes you don't have an Olympic decision making. You don't have a complex decision process. You just say, well, I mean, this looks good enough, let's go for it. And is there anybody here coming from the very south of Italy? So like Sicily, Puglia, Calabria. Why did you guys come to Trento?
Because for the same reason I forgot before.
For the quality?
Yeah, because for the first it was the security and privacy one. It's one of the best in the
So
there is no much choice.
since there is a reputation in this sense, you decide the quality had an even larger factor because the girl before could still say, well, convenience was a parameter. For you, the same type of decision was not affected by that parameter of convenience because it comes from so far away, and you can't even say I'm moving to another country. This is why I didn't put any people, any foreign students into this. Just saying because you're still in the same country, but you're saying, well, I have a set of parameters, which in one case was influential in the decision, though minorly, and in another, it's just not there. Okay? So there are different ways to make decisions. So my question is, if you go back to all the environments, how do you make decisions in certainty? So assume that you have to choose a university which is within 10 kilometers from where you live, and you live in Trentino, you live in Trento, okay? How many choices do you have? You basically don't choose. The choice is straightforward. You only have one option. It's as much as if you have to choose an exit university for EAT, everybody requires English C2, and you have B1 or B2, so there's no choice. You have one possible choice, and my question is, what makes you different, or your choice capability, if something makes it different from the others in the same environment? There's no difference, right? It's quite straightforward. This is what we call an Olympic decision. We know everything. Everything is given. Everything is granted. The conclusions are necessary, and there's no time for the deliberation. You don't need to say, well, but what if this happens or that happens? I have to go within 10 kilometers from where I live. There's one university, guess where I'm going. No way around. So the decision process works something like this. This is just a scheme. Okay? You have some preferences, like I want to go to university. You have a goal, I have to find one which is within 10 kilometers. You have an action, well, there's one, there's Trento, I'm going to Trento. The consequence is you subscribe here. No way around it. So here, as we said before, we don't really have a choice. I can be an entrepreneur, but anybody can be an entrepreneur because everybody makes the correct choice, which is the only possible choice, which is maybe not even a choice at all. So there is no difference between me or anybody else because we have the same preferences. Given the same preferences, I can only set myself those same goals. Given those goals, I can only take one action, which only gives me one constant. Okay? What happens if we go to risk? So say we are in a casino. It's always good for risk. What happens then? How can I make my choices? So I evaluate the probabilities, and this informs a course of action for me. Okay? And the consequence of my actions are going to be in some way affected by the risk. They're going to be affected by the probability. So, in this sense, we know the probabilities already, as we said, as always in the risk. And if we have a certain type of goal, the decision path is instantaneous. Because if I say I want to win leads me to committing to that course of action. If I want to lose for whatever reason, that leads me to commit to another course of action. But my question is, do we have a choice, or are we in a situation as before in which we don't really have a choice?
We have choices, but they are not as good as the others. I mean,
they're not equal. They're not equal if you consider one thing to be constant.
I think they are completely equal.
So you say there is a global optimum. This is what I'm asking here as well. So in the moment in which you step in a casino, there is a global optimum to your strategy. There is something which everybody should do, everybody, independently. If you step in a casino, this is what you should do. Like turn a beat like this. But
that doesn't. No, I by equal, like meant it the other way. I meant that everyone has an equal chance there. There's no one prior to any other. But
so,
yeah, exactly. There is no one.
There is no global optimum in the sense that all are at the same level. This is what you're arguing. Okay. Other opinions on this?
For example, in a match of Texas Hold'em, you can imagine what kind of card the other player has, and according to your prediction, you can make the decision of betting, folding, or going or whatever. But you should play according to a strategy that leads to winning most of the time. So if you think that the other player has a couple of that you can beat it, you should bet on beating it. But otherwise, you should fold it, not trying to win the 10% cases.
So in a poker match, what you're arguing is that in a poker match, I can use the information I have to create a strategy which is in some way optimal and risk from a risk perspective sound. It goes towards my goal.
Yeah, but this obviously depends on the assumptions that I make, the kind of reads of the moves of the other player. But given a set position, even if there's only one chance, one choice that leads you to win more, and other choices that leads you to win less.
Okay, this is fair enough. However, and this is perfectly fine. However, what I want to, let's see it a bit. So first, another decision flow of risks. Okay, so in this case, it goes pretty much the same as before, but in the end, the consequences will have a certain probability. Because of course, as we said before, I don't know what hand the other player has. I don't know what, I know the odds, but I don't know what the die is actually going to roll, what the roulette is actually going to come up with a number. But my questions here are these. what if something can differentiate one actor from another in a risky environment? And let's take the casino broadly, not one game, but the entire casino.
That maybe it's not nice to say, but when you are in a casino, you are probably have had about 3 or 4 shots of drink, so you have some alcohol in your blood, and you do some brave risks that if you're sober, you are not going for them at all. And one of the conditions that happen is that you just omit all of the knowledge you have, you just omit all of the probabilities, I don't know, the guesses, the educated guesses, everything, and you just go for a feeling. And you lose, you win, but I believe that it's not like, okay, he has like, he do a full house, he is less probable to do it, so I should do this. It is okay, but the fact is that most of the time, the people that are in a casino do risking and go for risk because of the atmosphere of the casino, because of the alcohol they have at casino, and maybe we can define the entrepreneurship in a casino. I don't want to say destructive, but I want to say omitting all the background, all the knowledge, and go for a feeling.
So it's not what you're saying, there might be external factors which alter my ability to judge the situation.
Yes.
Therefore, even if I am in a risky environment, I'm not behaving in the complete prospective way of rational thinking in the risky environment. So I'm approaching it as something different, which is not risk. Because if I were to be perfectly lucid, and if the situation was sterile enough, I would address it in a risky situation, and as a risky situation, and everybody would take the same course of action. This is true.
And
this
also,
is,
excuse me, sorry to interrupt you. And also, we talked about poker, and if we just consider the table games, consider other games, like the coin games, I don't know if they are in Italy, but they're the machine that you throw coins and maybe you get other coins and it's a coin game, and also the one that you go for bingo. You cannot do any probability, you cannot make any decision based on probability, right? Because they are meant to be completely accidental.
okay, this makes sense. However, what I wanted to reflect with you on is also the following. What can differentiate one actor from another is the goals which they have. Because as we step in the same risky environment, which is the casino, we all have one global optimum, which is turn around and leave. Okay, let's take it for granted. But also, everybody of us will come into there with probably with the same preference. So they want to spend the night in the casino or whatever, but possibly with a different goal. So different, the necessity in some way starts from here, starts from the moment in which we set the same goal. The moment in which we set the same goal, the rest of the flow goes automatically. However, the first part that in the preferences I can formulate goals does not have the same structure of necessity which it had in certainty. In certainty there was just one thing possible. Here we have a bit of a opening, okay? What about uncertainty now? And here we get to something a bit more interesting. Because if we get into uncertainty, what you said applies. So what you said, the fact that I may have had a drink, the fact that I may not completely know what is there just because my capability of reasoning is limited at this point becomes a fact. How do we, but that's some sort of a degenerate case because the argument is what brings me to an uncertain situation, the fact that I'm not getting it, but that is a risky part, okay?
Do you think it applies or not?
I think that it applies in the sense that you constructed it in such a way that that risky situation becomes uncertain because I don't have the capability to process it.
But this is the strategy of the casino.
They want
They want you to.
Yeah, answer. But I have
Not only the lights, the sound, the kind of environment that you have.
I have a question. Yes, do you think the people in a casino, imagine a night in a casino, we gather them all, we invite them for like tomorrow night, and we do not give them any alcoholic drinks, and we say play. Do you think they will play? Do they have the same behavior?
That's absolutely right. This is on this I agree. You're clouding their vision and therefore putting them into situations which they're using an uncertainty reasoning or even an ambiguity reasoning if they're completely clouded and they cannot understand anything about the world around them, rather than their risk reason. Okay? So you're bringing them away from what we called before the Olympic rationality and into something else. So my question is, if you are in uncertainty, and for now, let's not put substances into this, just to simplify things. Just to say, let's take something which is objectively uncertain. If you like the example of the D&D case, which we made last time, where I'm rolling a die and one person knows what your goal is and the other doesn't, that's an uncertain situation. I think we can agree. So, how do you actually make a decision uncertain? At random. Well, that's always a good option. You don't have any knowledge, but if you are in uncertainty,
you have to set your vision of the world and play according to it. And it's not always the case that it's the right way of seeing it. But that's the best you can do.
So you
and
can say,
you have to correct it according to the evidence that you gather.
So you can say, I have a mental model.
Yeah.
I can apply it to make some sort of a plan and then iterate over it.
Yeah.
I can build a procedure. This is what we define to be the uncertain way of proceeding, right? So it's all about routines. We can make an enumeration with a routine and say, well, I have this mental model, I can apply this, I can build a routine which in some way leads me to refining my mental model, refining the situation, getting a smaller complex interval. I can repeat. So we get to some sort of a decision loop which works like this. In this case, it's not as straightforward as it was before. And the goals are in some way substituted by what we call an aspiration level. So you can say, well, I aspire, hopefully I won't lose my casino money completely, I just lose 50% of it. And you can start playing, and then based on the routines which you apply, which might or might not be correct, you receive from results consequences which are not certain, they are undetermined from before. And from my results, I can set a different aspiration level. Yes?
So the aspiration level about finding my
Sorry?
The aspiration level give us a measure on when we have to stop or not.
It can give us a measure of when to stop or not. It can also give us that's a good first definition, yes. I would say that's good. Can somebody else think of a different uncertain scenario? Historical, any sort.
Blackjack. Since the deck shouldn't be shuffled, you start a new game. You don't know anything about the position of the cards, but as you go on and proceed with the games, you know which cards are already being shown, and you should play according to it.
So if you're playing a game of cards, not necessarily blackjack, I guess.
If you shuffle the deck each time, you're not more in a certain word.
Well, though, to be fair, if I
but in blackjack it's more versatile because it's propagated during the time.
Okay. Yeah, then this is good enough. So there's a common thread in here, but can you find other scenarios of uncertainty from your experience, from history, from whatever?
Can we say that at like after 5 states of chess, it becomes some kind of uncertainty? Because you would become in this loop, you would go for a move either not to lose a piece or to attack the competitor, but it goes and you actually, I think that you will get to this loop after like, yes, but maybe not in the beginning, but when the, let's say the alphabet tree then grows, maybe bring us some uncertainty. Is it fair to say bring us some uncertainty?
So I think that chess is an interesting example in the sense that it is not a solved game. Okay, there is a book of all possible chess moves, and effectively what has happened now is that up to move number X, we can guarantee that the moves are optimal. Okay, so what you're saying is, I think, correct in the sense that if you start advanced missiles in Cuba, they can fire on the USA before they can react. Okay, so this is not a good point for the USA. So how did the USA approach this situation if you were, so how would you approach this situation if you were the USA and you would see this as an uncertainty problem?
That you have some research in the United Kingdom and they don't know if it's true or not.
One option is just that to say, well, I have some missiles close to the USSR, now we're back to square one. Okay? And this actually is something
We tried
some
some decades later, Turkey.
They had missiles in Turkey and in Italy. And I think in Greece as well.
No.
I think it was something like Cyprus, but I'm not maybe I'm mistaken. So yeah, they put missiles in Turkey to rebalance this. But let's say you have this situation which is kind of worrying in Cuba, back alley, what do?
You need to gather information.
You need to gather information. So
you try to send spies or something.
you send a spy, you send an airplane, you send something to fly over there and see how many missiles they have. And this is exactly what they did. They sent a plane, the plane goes, and it finds 3 missiles. Something that looks like 3 missiles. What can the USA conclude at this point, if this is uncertainty? So they have gathered information, they come back and they say, well, I saw 3 missiles.
They at least had 3 missiles.
They have at least 3 missiles. This doesn't mean that they have 3 exactly. They might have 27, but they have at least 3. So this, then, however, what happens is this, that the aircraft which is sent there is shot down. Okay? And since this is the Cold War is based on the assumption that we cannot make hot war, so we don't shoot each other. We just threaten and do diplo, but we don't actually shoot each other. But that aircraft is shot down. So if they were to send a second aircraft to make a second round of recon, and that aircraft also gets shot down, it will be hot war, and nobody wants that. Okay? So the USA effectively went ahead in an uncertain situation. They said, well, there's 3. You can gather more information, but if you were to gather more information, the cost of doing so would be too high. It's not feasible to commit on that strategy. They changed the strategy. How?
They applied the circle, the loop code, and changed their aspiration level after the accident with the airplane.
So they changed their aspiration level and saying, well, at this point we cannot refine our estimate of how many missiles there are. Maybe what we can try to assess is at what stage of preparation they are. Are they good enough missiles so that they actually represent a threat, or are they too much in a raw state and they cannot actually pose a threat to us? And if you want to see a movie about uncertainty and ambiguity applied, it's called 13 Days. It's perfect in this sense because it really shows back and forth how one player reacts and the other counteracts and so on. And in this sense, uncertainty examples followed what is called in mathematics game theory. Okay, these are game theory problems. There are problems in which one player has moved and another answers, and this is iterated in some way, finding local optimum. So we are searching the same world. Who is the entrepreneur in this world of uncertainty? Who is the entrepreneur that takes a decision in this world of uncertainty? So, in some way, in certainty, we didn't need entrepreneurs because everybody is an entrepreneur and nobody is an entrepreneur. Okay? If there's one choice possible, there's no actual choice possible. In risk, the entrepreneurs are those that take the risk and are those that in some way set their goals in a way that is kind of convenient to them. What about uncertainty?
Maybe it's about gathering the key information. If I can gather raw information, I have to choose carefully.
It's definitely about gathering the correct information. It's gathering about information which is relevant and spending in some way the resources which I have for gathering information in a smart way. Okay?
For example, for Cuba, maybe you don't focus on how many missiles, but are they there? Yes, no, it's just
so is the person that in some way redefines these aspiration levels, as we call them. So it is also, well, like what else? In this sense, if you're still uncertain, okay? The key, yeah.
When you try to make the worst scenario more worse.
So you say, I start from worst case scenario, and then I move upon
gather information to make it a little bit better.
Yeah. So in this sense, the entrepreneur in uncertainty is the one that creates a routine to get out of that situation, or to refine and improve that situation, and is the one able to create new routines and to create ways of going out of the swamp of uncertainty somewhere, right? So you gather the relevant information, you start from the worst possible, you create a procedure which you follow. In this case, however, if you go back to what we have in the case of, well, in the case of risk and of certainty, you don't have anymore that luxury of saying, in the moment in which I step in, I know what to do. You have to create a procedure. You have to find what is the salient information which I'm looking for, and in some way, I also have to balance finding what the salient information is as part of my trade-off in the resources, the limited resources I have to spend. Because if I spend all the time trying to find what the best parameter to evaluate is, guess what? I'm not evaluating anything. Which then, of course, leads to the point of what happens in ambiguity.
So before going to ambiguity, do you think that the United States president in the speech to stop the Cold War was an entrepreneurial behavior?
Sorry, you do think or you do not think that he was?
No, I'm asking you.
Okay.
When do you think that Ronald Reagan, the speech to stop the Cold War, to Gorbachev, Soviet Union, was it like entrepreneurial behavior, or was it actually quitting?
So what do we define as entrepreneurial behavior in this sense? So you mean if he was the actual leader of this, or whether he was just poking Gorbachev? Is that what you mean?
Because you know the target, the country, their current target was to show off the superpower they have. Okay, am I right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, they didn't want to look like a coward. But United States president at the end, let's say, vote for the stop of this show off. So he didn't, in my opinion, he didn't reach his goal. But he was out of the uncertain situation and entrepreneurial behavior behavior is actually, in my opinion, reaching your target. I think he actually quit it. You know what? It's now getting dangerous. Let's quit it.
Okay, so you're saying, well, he had a goal, and in some way he reset his own aspiration levels and said, well, my target was actually different out of it because this is too much.
Continuing it is not safe for us.
However, I would argue that having the ability of taking these kind of decisions is exactly what an entrepreneur does. Because otherwise you get into this situation of escalation of commitments, which we have talked about sometimes. But it is that situation in which you keep investing into something until eventually you run out of resources. Even if in theory you have made the correct decision and you should be able to pay out, you are not able to. So if you go to a casino, you take the correct bet, you still commit to that bet, even if you now only have €1 remaining. So maybe you should play that and keep your last euro, but instead you commit. So this bailing out early, you might see it as a failure of an entrepreneur, but in some way it also shows that it is an entrepreneur because he is the one able to say, well, I'm going into an escalation which has too much, has the potential to have too bad of a consequence. I should decommit. So I think it's arguable. Actually, this was part of one of the battles which we did. The first year I was here as a student. And we actually had we had this situation. We took Kennedy, which was president during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and we say, was Kennedy a hero or not? So was he the one that actually resolved the crisis? He took it in his hands and decided to fix it and avoid this nuclear showdown, or was he just following along and picking up the phone call to say, yeah, well, maybe we should end it? And this is a debate which can be open, or actually reopened. Okay. So there is no right or wrong answer, but I think both kind of apply. So how does a decision in ambiguity work instead? Okay, correct. Is this a strong ambiguity or weak ambiguity? Well, the answer is both. If you have one option for strong ambiguity, say, in a strong ambiguity, I think you would, and in a weak ambiguity, you say, in a weak ambiguity, I think that would. So in a strong ambiguity situation, you can invest your resources to alter your environment and create the space for a decision which is favorable to your own thinking, to the world which you want to make. I can enroll, as you said, I can make advertisements, I can create lock-in effects, I can create network effects, I can create an environment if the environment is malleable, so I can edit it by manipulating and adding onto it. I can invest resources to make the decision more favorable to me. Yes, definitely. Other options? For weak ambiguity, for example? Random. Yeah, this was exactly, I mean, this was where it actually was random, right? If I know nothing, I can just pick it random, because I mean, I know nothing anyway, so what else can I do? That's actually a possible path which can be pursued. So, effectively what happens is that we get into what we call the retrospective. I do first, and then I justify. It's the famous adage that it's easier to say you're sorry than to ask permission, right? So you do something, yeah?
But why not the opposite? Like justify that your truth is the correct one, including the other steps. That's the way you want to be acted.
So you're saying first?
It's similar to the previous speech, clearly the environment that is favorable for me, but not in a diplomatic way, just because like that's the absolute truth. Because in the end, everyone can have a true proposal, but yours is the best.
However, if what you're saying is I can create a world in which I'm right, and then the justification is immediate, what you are doing is exactly a retrospective behavior, because you're starting from the assumption that what you have now is not the way you want it. So first you act and modify it, and then the justification becomes immediate. See what I mean? So what you're proposing is not actually a reversal of this, because the reversal of this is what we have explored up to now with procedural rationality and bounded and uncertainty. Because you say, I deliberate on everything, I make a set of deliberations, I gather some parameters, I make a decision, and therefore the course of action is this. Okay? Well, what you're saying is, well, I convince everybody that I'm right, then I do it, and the justification is immediate. So you're effectively acting first because you know that you're right for whatever reason by justifying it to the others, then actually carrying out that step, and the others will see your choice as rational. Okay? So, does this make sense? Can you think of retrospective behavior in your lives? When you don't have a clue, you just do something and then maybe it works, maybe it doesn't.
It doesn't do anything.
So when you don't have a clue, if you do nothing, nothing will happen, that's for sure. If I do something, worst case it will not go the way I thought it would go, if I had any thought about it, and I will need to justify it. I mean, just, again, take the choice of university. Go there, you go out with an excellent grade. Well, I mean, I went there because I knew I would do good. Well, you didn't, but that's what you tell the others, right? Other examples of retrospective behavior? Black box testing. In which sense?
Let's take an example that you need to exploit something in that environment, and you don't have anything medical or things, and you try to do some exploitation, and this exploitation is not working, maybe because they have a firewall, or maybe that vulnerability is based on this. So, black box system is, you have to learn first, and you have to justify your.
So you're saying if I'm doing black box testing, which is a security technique in which you have a system, you don't know what's inside, and you just try to see how you can break it, if you can break it. You can just say, well, I go ahead, I break it, and then if something doesn't work, I can say, well, this is the standard, therefore I tried it, even if it doesn't work, this was a rational solution. Yes? Other examples of retrospective?
Doctors, for example, if you have a disease, then no what it is, try just some methods.
If you are in an emergency situation, medical emergency situation, you find somebody that has a broken leg and is bleeding out, you act first, you put a bandage, and then you justify it. I put a bandage because it was bleeding and this is a protocol or whatever, but you need to act first. This is a very relevant. Okay, so in some way, we go back to the garbage can, right? Yeah? Yes. Acting first is the only choice you have. Well, it depends. I mean, you also have the choice of observing first and then acting. Because if somebody is bleeding out, you can't let them bleed out. Okay? But you decide that you want to act first and then justify it, rather than find a reasoning why you should do it and then act upon it. So it might be that it's your only choice, but not necessarily. You have a temporal order. So you have you say, I have something which is happening now. I have to do something now. You take a choice first, and then I elaborate upon it. Okay? And the decisions, and this is especially true for weak ambiguity, are just a combination of some elements, which are also in the paper by Mark, Olsen, and the others. They just combine. You have solutions, you have problems, you have participants, you have opportunities of choice. So you have a solution, you have the bandage. You have a problem, a broken leg. You have a participant, me as a safety instructor, or sort of, how do you call it, paramedic, and the other person as a patient. And you have a choice of opportunities. I can apply the bandage or not. So, or observe, or conduct an evaluation and then decide what to do, right? In the end, I make a decision. I make a decision which is informed by the combination of this. If the patient is screaming in pain, maybe this brings me to curing him first. If it seems like he's all right, maybe I can take some time to decide to deliberate more. This is fruit of the temporal orders. So what is happening now?
For example, go back always to the example of VHS and Betamax, for example, which is a really good case, but still, at the time, VHS had developed this cassette which length 2 hours and a half, and they didn't know what to do with it. And then they saw that there were football match in television, so there was the solution already there. They had the problem what to do with the cassette. The choice opportunity is to set it as an opportunity to record the football matches, and they make the decision that that's what happened. But they didn't develop the cassette for the purpose to record the football matches. It just happened because they took the right temporal order in the right moment. So they acted first, and then after they rationally say, yeah, we developed this because these are new opportunities for our customers and these are value propositions for our products. But no, it was retrospective.
So, oh wait, no, this was from before. I think this is that.
But I think the second question.
Yeah. How do you think? Well, it's the first part. It's broken. There's nothing necessary about this. How do you think it's broken?
About the second question.
Yeah.
For example, imagine there would be an earthquake here. No one would decide to observe how hard is it, how Richter is going to be. We are all going to get out of the building. So we don't decide.
So sometimes you're saying sometimes a decision, a course of action is so immediate which doesn't require a deliberation. Well, an instinct in the end is a decision making.
Do you have the choice not to follow your instinct? For example, if let's say, let's bring an example. If you are looking at your monitor and something comes to your face, you have the choice not to close your eyes. When you sneeze, you have the choice not to close your eyes.
Okay, this is okay. Okay.
You know, we cannot make
it's an impulse in which you don't really have the ability to decide.
Yeah.
However, this would be certainly a non-continuity. I would say.
Yeah, yeah.
If while sneezing I close my eyes, this is certainly something I'm thinking about. So, do you want to say it? No. So in this sense, I start with a decision, okay? And the decision and the course of action which I take then either brings me towards gathering information and then justifying it, or it just leads to saying, I did something, therefore here's why I did it, and how and why I did it. So, I want to bring you to this. Because that was just more example discussion, which I think is not really needed. know the fox and the grapes. The face. It's quite famous. It works like this. There's a fox, which is hungry and wants to fetch these juicy grapes, which are on the back. Okay? The fox tries to jump over and over and over, fails to do so. And in the end, it goes away saying, well, the grapes weren't ripe anyway. And that's how the fable stops. There's a morality in it, but that's how the fable stops. So my question is, right? They were not tasted enough. Okay. So the question is the fox's behavior rational? Sorry. Yeah, exactly. It did have other choices. So what I'm saying is the behavior of the fox, which is that of saying the grapes are not ripe, I go away, is it a rational behavior? It's saying if I have a problem, I don't have any problem. Yes, that's what we're also doing.
Maybe it's not the best decision.
It's not the best decision. Okay. What I'm wondering is it rational or not? No, it's not. Why is it not?
Because you didn't decide to consider the grades. You just was made to not to have the grades and be brought an experience. I didn't know the story, so maybe I cannot tell you. But I can say that he didn't have known. It was not a procedure being followed and being the decision that the other grades are not very good. It is an excuse to feel better. So it's not rational. It's not a rational. It's not a rational. Why?
Well, I mean, would you want to feel not good? Even if the goal was not attainable, would you be happier, more successful, more motivated if you decided, well, those grades were definitely right, I just was not good enough? Would that help you?
Because you would have, if you recognize your mistake, you can learn from it. If you don't recognize it, you're going to live in your ignorance forever.
So in this sense, do you argue that fox was rational or not?
Irrational.
Irrational. Okay, because it was not rational.
Because he didn't write the right way to gather that. The result is that she didn't make it to get the grade. And that's it. And she had to analyze the situation for what she knows and what she can improve upon. Not on I then one and
Is there anybody that thinks that the fox was rational? Yes, why?
Because if we assume that the fox wasn't able to get this grade because of a mistake, is another thing. But if we think that the fox wasn't able to get this grade because he just wasn't able, there is absolutely no point in thinking, oh, those grapes was absolutely juicy and all that stuff. It's better to just go on, ignore the grapes and whatever, because there is nothing I can learn that will allow me to get these grapes.
So the factor to learn is that I could not get those, but if there is nothing with respect to how desirable they were, which adds information to my decision, which would have informed a better decision. This is what you're saying, right?
Kind of.
Sorry? Yeah.
Kind of.
So the same behavior can be seen as irrational or as rational. However, what rationality, if it applied some rationality, did the fox apply? Was it prospective? So was it elliptic? Was it bounded? Was it procedural? Was it retrospective? Definitely retrospective, right? It acted first and then justified. It acted twice. It acted first to try to get. Once he saw that the results were not those that he wanted, he acted again by saying I'm out and gave a justification with respect to why he did that second action. The first action was the fruit of a prospective reason. He said, look at the grapes, I see that they are right, therefore I commit to getting them. Prospective. I cannot get them, I go away. This is the second decision. Why did they go away? Because they were not right. So this is retrospective. So for your convenience, I think, because now we can't really go into this, and it's very I need what? Yeah, it's a bit blurry. We will upload this slide to give you a summary of what we discussed today with respect to the different types of rationality and the different how they combine the different types of environment. So, final notice before we say bye. Battle 7, we go to A207. Okay.